Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah.
So today we're getting into something fundamental but also kind of tricky in English.
Absolutely. We're talking about articles.
Yeah, those tiny words, a, and they.
Yeah,
And well, also when not to use one at all, right?
exactly. It seems simple, but wow, the nuances.
We've had some great questions come in from you all, really good ones, like, why do we say the cat, but then just life? No, the life.
Or a university, but switch to an hour. What's
Yeah.
going on there?
Right, and that classic example, I love music. Just
Yeah.
no article. Why? We're going to try and unpack these little grammar puzzles.
It's fascinating stuff, and those listener questions really hit some key points. We'll definitely dig into that UK versus US thing, like I'm in hospital.
Oh, yeah, versus I'm in the hospital. That's a good one.
And also why something like I love the mountains feels perfectly natural, but saying I love the pizza might sound, well, a bit off, unless you mean specific pizza.
Yeah, context is key there, I guess.
Yeah,
And just generally, when do we just skip the article? That's a big one.
it really is.
Okay, so our mission today, basically, is to get beyond just memorizing rules. We want you to actually feel why things work the way they do.
Get that intuition going. Understand when the might be optional. Feel confident with a versus n.
Especially with those tricky H words like historic or historical. Which one is it?
We'll get into that. So where's the best place to start, you think?
Let's lay down the foundations. The, like, 3 core principles.
Sounds good. Rule number 1, a or n.
Okay, so this is for, like, any single thing, right? Not specific. A cat could be any cat wandering down the street.
Precisely. Or an idea, just, an idea that popped into your head, not the specific idea we discussed earlier.
But here's the bit that catches people, isn't it? It's not about the letter it starts with.
No, not the spelling. It's all about the sound.
Right, so a university
Uh-huh.
starts with U, a vowel, but the sound.
Is that U sound? Like the word U, that's a consonant sound technically. So university.
Okay, and then the opposite, like an hour, starts with H.
But the H is silent. You don't hear it. The first sound is ow, a vowel sound, so an hour.
That clicks when you think about the sound.
Right.
Okay, makes sense. Principle number 2.
Principle 2,
Enter.
the definite article.
This one means specific, right? That particular thing.
Exactly. Something known, something already mentioned, or something unique. The cat. Probably the one we both know. Maybe your cat.
Or like the internet. There's generally only one we're referring to.
Precisely. The signal specificity. We're zeroing in on one particular item or concept.
Okay, a Virion for anyone. The for the specific one. Which brings us to number 3.
Number 3, the zero article, using nothing.
Right. No article needed. When does that happen?
Typically with general plural nouns or abstract uncountable nouns.
Okay, examples.
Like, I love cats. Not the cats in my house necessarily, but all cats. Cats as a general concept.
Or like she fears death. Death isn't a specific thing you can point to easily. It's abstract.
Exactly. The lack of an article often broadens the scope to the general or the abstract.
You know, this ties perfectly into that listener story. Someone mentioned, they said, I need the advice.
Ah, yes. And the friend asked, which advice?
Exactly. Because the advice implies specific advice. If they just needed general guidance, they'd say,
I need advice. No article, just the general concept of advice.
it's such a neat illustration of that specific versus general thing.
It really is. Okay, so those are the core ideas. But English being English.
Oh, yeah, here come the exceptions. The tricky bits.
Let's dive into some of those. Places, for instance, can be really interesting.
Right, like the hospital example. You said in hospital in the UK.
Often means you're a patient, you're receiving treatment there. It's about the purpose of being there.
Whereas in the US, in the hospital usually just means you're physically inside the building.
Yeah, more about the location itself. It's a fascinating difference.
And school's similar, isn't it?
It is. At school usually implies studying, being there for the educational function.
But if I say I met him at the school,
That sounds more like you met him at the physical building, maybe for a parent-teacher night or some other event, not necessarily during class time.
so the article kind of defines the reason you're there, in a way.
In those specific contexts, yes, it really shifts the meaning.
Okay, what else? Meals, sports, languages.
Yeah.
Those often don't have articles either, right?
Generally, when speaking broadly, yes. I ate breakfast. She plays tennis. He speaks French.
We're talking about the activity or the system itself.
Exactly. But If you want to get specific,
Then the B comes back in.
you got it. The breakfast we had yesterday was terrible. Now it's a specific meal.
Or the tennis match was really exciting, talking about one particular match.
Specificity strikes again. It's a recurring theme.
It really is. Okay, let's tackle that A versus N with H words again. Because that one, that causes confusion.
It does. The general rule is pretty clear. Pronounce H, use A, like a history lesson. A horse, you hear the H.
Okay. And silent H, use an, like an hour, an honor.
Right. But then you get words like historic.
Yeah, I feel like I hear both ahistoric and an historic. What's the deal?
Well, traditionally, especially in British English, the H in historic was sometimes pronounced quite softly or even almost dropped.
Ah, so if the H sound is weak.
Then N might feel more natural because it flows into the vowel sound that follows. So, an historic event.
But a historic event with a clearly pronounced H is also perfectly fine, maybe more common now, especially in the U.S.
Absolutely. It's one of those areas with a bit of variation. Sometimes pronunciation preference influences the grammar choice.
And you had that tip, right? If you sort of pause slightly before the H.
Yeah, that little hesitation, like when you say honest, can be a signal that maybe "an" feels more natural to you for that specific H word. It reflects that softer H.
Interesting. So listen to your own pronunciation sometimes.
It can help guide you. Okay, let's shift gears slightly. When do we intentionally skip articles, even when maybe it feels like one should be there?
This is where it gets intuitive, I think. We've touched on it. General plural nouns, general uncountable nouns.
Right, avoid the when you mean all or in general. Cats are independent.
Not the cats are independent, unless we mean those specific cats over there.
Exactly. Or abstract nouns. Information is power.
Not the information is power. Too general.
Okay, what about names? Proper nouns.
Usually no article, right? I saw Sarah, not I saw the Sarah.
Generally, yes. People, most, cities, countries. No article, but.
Always a but. Exceptions.
Exceptions exist. Geographical features often take the Thames, the Alps, the Sahara Desert.
Okay. Rivers, mountain ranges, deserts, and some countries.
Plural names, often. The United States, the Netherlands, the Philippines, or names that include a common noun like republic or kingdom. The Dominican Republic, the United Kingdom.
Ah, okay. There's a pattern there. Kinda. What about that kind of thing?
Right. After phrases like kind of, type of, sort of, we usually omit A or N.
So what kind of phone is that?
Exactly. Not what kind of a phone. It sounds a bit clunky with the extra A.
That's a good practical tip. And I love that listener hack, using a highlighter.
Yeah, highlighting 0 article nouns in green when reading. That's a really smart way to visually train your brain to recognize the pattern. Great idea.
It is. So, okay, we know the rules, we know some exceptions, but how do we get that natural feel for it all without constantly overthinking?
That's the goal, isn't it? To make it second nature. Well, one big thing is just listening a lot.
What? Immersion.
Yeah. Pay attention when you're listening to podcasts, watching shows, listening to the news. How are native speakers using articles naturally? Your brain starts absorbing the patterns subconsciously.
Just let it soak in.
Exactly. And another practical tip, if you're unsure, especially about using the, and you're talking generally,
Leaning towards leaving the out might be safer.
often yes. If it's general, nonspecific, omitting the is frequently the right call. Like, I love mountains, all mountains, versus I love the mountains near my city. Specific ones.
That helps narrow it down. What about that all test you mentioned?
Oh, yeah, that can be useful. Try mentally adding all before the plural noun. If all dogs need walks sounds natural without the, then dogs need walks is probably correct too.
So if the doesn't fit with all, it probably doesn't fit without it either for general statements.
It's a quick check for generality. And one more thing, don't be thrown off by headlines or texts.
Ah, right. They often drop articles for brevity, don't they? Man bites dog instead of a man bit a dog.
Exactly. That's a specific style, not standard grammatical usage for everyday speech or writing. Don't model your article use on headlines.
Good point. Okay, this feels like a good moment for our listener challenge. Time to become an article detective.
I like it. What's the first mission?
Mission 1, be an article spotter. So next time you're reading something or watching a movie, actively look for an the.
And crucially, also notice when there's no article use.
Yes. And ask yourself, why? Why that choice in that specific situation? Try to connect it back to these ideas of specific, general, abstract.
Okay, mission 1, observe and analyze. What's mission 2?
Mission 2. Play with the rules. Think about that UKS difference again. I'm going to university versus I'm going to the university.
Which one feels more natural to you? And why? What does adding the do to the feeling or the focus of that sentence?
Reflect on that subtle shift. Okay? And mission 3.
Mission 3, headline fixer.
Find one of those article list headlines like mayor proposes tax cut.
And rewrite it as a standard sentence with the articles put back in.
So maybe the mayor proposed a tax cut. Think about how adding the and a makes it clear, more specific.
It really highlights the function of articles, doesn't it? And remember our earlier example, she's at school
Meaning she's studying.
versus she's at the school.
Meaning she's just physically at the building. Tiny word, big difference.
Exactly.
So wow, okay, these little words, a and a,
Yeah.
they really are powerful, aren't they?
They pack a punch. Getting them right is such a big part of sounding natural and, avoiding that feeling of constantly second-guessing your grammar.
It smooths everything out.
It really does. It shows how we carve up the world, linguistically speaking, distinguishing the general from the specific, the known from the unknown.
Well said. Okay, final thought to leave everyone with.
How about this? Think back to historic versus historical. We talked about a historic and an historic.
Right, the pronunciation things.
Next time you hear someone use one of those phrases, listen closely. Can you hear how their pronunciation of that H strong or soft might actually be influencing their choice between A and N?
Ah, so the sound itself might be subtly guiding the grammar in real time.
It's possible. It just shows that fascinating link between the sounds we make and the grammatical choices we select. Something to listen out for.
Love it. A great place to end. Until our next deep dive.